Happy Sunday! I am bringing you guys another video tonight. I'm going to apologize for my voice to start off, and if I cough, I'm still getting over this cold. It's just like this lingering cough thing going on right now, and so I've got my fancy champagne glass of water again because my mouth is super dry from this cold, and unless somebody's going to come spit in my mouth, water in a champagne glass is going to have to do it. And this is mostly because I'm lazy. And this is all that was in my cupboard, and it's either drink out of this or wash dishes, so there we go. I also got new glasses. You guys can tell me what you think about them. I have actually always worn glasses, but I don't think I've ever actually worn them for a video. They're really low prescription, so I don't, I can still see without them. But I'm totally loving these ones. They're super red, and I think that I don't know, I like them. So anyway, I digress. On to the topic at hand. So this video is just going to be basically an update of an older video on goldfish tank size. And I'm basically updating that older video for two reasons. One is that the general recommendations on tank size for goldfish has changed since I started in the hobby. And also my own personal views on tank size have changed as I've kept goldfish for longer. So I'm going to tell you guys both what the general recommendations are and then also what my personal opinion is, because who doesn't want my personal opinion, right? You guys all really want my personal opinion. So before I get into it, I'm going to preface this video by saying that I hate talking about tank size, and this video has been on my to-do list for quite a while, and I've been avoiding it because it's one of those topics that people get so riled up about, and I think that I've said this before, but it's one of those things that, half of you watching are going to be like, this girl's a fucking idiot, and, what is she talking about? And then hopefully some of you will agree with me, and whatever, who knows. But, there's people on this end of the spectrum that are the, let's do one inch per gallon sort of thing. I can have, 50 goldfish in a 50-gallon and they're totally fine people. And then there's people on this end of the spectrum that are going to say goldfish should only be in ponds and they need 100 gallons per fish and, all that sort of stuff. So there's really these competing sides, and I tend to fall in the middle of those, I guess. So hopefully it's a happy medium for most people. We want our recommendations to be realistic. This is a hobby, and it's not realistic for everyone to be keeping a goldfish pond, right? It's also not realistic for people to be keeping crazy overstocked tanks and think that they're going to have healthy fish. So, with that said, in my first video on goldfish care tank size stuff, the general recommendation at the time was 20 gallons for the first fish and 10 gallons for each fish after that. And that was the recommendation I followed when I started keeping goldfish. I got a 30-gallon tank and I got my fish and I was like, holy crap, these fish are so big. How can they ever, this is not an okay long-term home for them. I totally freaked out because I was all ready to go, and my fish came from, oh geez, why am I blanking on this? Hawaii. Steve Hopkins, Rain Garden Goldfish. Jesus, there we go. And so they're a little bit bigger to start off with than your typical pet store fish. So all I had ever seen when I started in the hobby was your typical pet store fish. And so when I got these guys, I was like, holy crap, they're not going to fit in this 30-gallon. It was a huge shock to me. And that was the recommendation. I was following the guidelines. I was doing everything correctly, as far as people were telling me, but I very quickly upgraded them to a 40-gallon, which was a much better fit for quite a while, and then they got upgraded to a 75-gallon now because I felt like they had outgrown the 40. So, guidelines are guidelines. They're not hard and fast rules. It's going to depend on your fish. It's one of those things where you have to use your brain. And if your fish look like they're too big for a 30-gallon or a 40-gallon, then they're probably too big for a 30 or 40-gallon and you need to upgrade. If they're really teeny tiny, you can probably get away with a smaller tank than what is recommended for a small amount of time. But you need to be careful doing that because it's easy to just, start with a small tank and keep them in there. But anyway, so the current general recommendation in terms of, and when I say recommendation, it's based on the community of goldfish keepers that I personally align with and follow, I guess. That recommendation at this point is 15 to 20 gallons per fish, with 20 gallons per fish being the more ideal, 15 gallons per fish being if you have little teeny tiny guys and it's a kind of temporary home sort of situation. So that's the general guideline. So like a 40-gallon breeder is awesome for a starter tank if you want 2 goldfish. It's a really great size. It's got great dimensions. It's actually closer to 50 gallons than 40 gallons when you actually do the math on it. So I always recommend a 40 breeder over like a 55-gallon for people, just because I really like the dimensions better, and it's pretty close to a 55-gallon in terms of water volume. And you can get them for cheap at like the Petco $1 per gallon sale. You can get a 40-gallon breeder for $40. So it's a really great starter tank, and that's what I typically recommend to people when they're just starting out in the hobby. My own personal views on tank size at this point, you can see I have 2 in a 75-gallon, and that's really, my views have shifted to the fact that, these fish get really big. They do. If you're taking proper care of them and you're feeding properly and all that sort of stuff, they get big. And some of it's certainly genetics, and some fish aren't going to get as big as others. But in general, the majority of goldfish have the potential to be large fish. And a large fish produces a lot of waste. They eat a lot. So you need that water volume to really dilute the waste. In a small tank, like if I were to put these guys in a 20-gallon and didn't do a water change for a week, the nitrates in the tank would be very high by the end of the week because they're producing a lot of waste and they wouldn't have that water volume to kind of dilute that out. Some swimming room is also nice. Just because your nitrates are okay in a small tank doesn't mean that that's the ideal tank size for the fish. Having some room to kind of swim back and forth and that sort of thing is always nice. So I guess, my personal view, I'm a chronic understocker. I just am. I have a bed of fish in a 20-gallon. I'm crazy like that. It's easier to understock ultimately. If you're willing to put in the water changes and do big frequent water changes, you can overstock a tank okay and, have decently healthy fish and all that sort of stuff. But, for beginner fish keepers especially, understocking a tank just makes so much more sense. It leaves way less room for error. So if you get sick or something and you don't have time to do your water change, it's not going to be the end of the world if you're a little bit understocked and you have that good water volume. If you're overstocked and you forget to do a water change, or you're sick, or you have to go on vacation or something, the results can be pretty disastrous in terms of water quality for the fish. So I always recommend that people just starting off in the hobby understock their tanks. I don't know. It's my own personal view. I'd love to see like a recommendation of more like 35 to 40 gallons per fish for if we're thinking adult fish. Obviously, little tiny juvie fish does not need that. But when we're thinking about adult-sized goldfish and for a forever home, closer to 35 to 40 gallons I think is more realistic for these fish, quite honestly, than 15 to 20 gallons. So that's my own personal opinion. You can take it for what it's worth. And just know that, some of you, when you look at this tank, may think, gosh, she could put, 3 more fish in there and they'd be fine. When I look at this tank, I think that it's totally fully stocked. So, part of it is our own perception and that sort of thing. So, yeah, those are my opinions and views on this. So, I'm seeing that this is already a 10-minute video, so I'm gonna cut this off here, I think. But, you know, tank size is important. It's, you know, one of the really basic things that you're gonna give your fish in terms of quality of life and keeping them healthy. So really, the more room you can give them, ultimately, the better it's gonna be. And 15 to 20 gallons is a great starting place, and you can basically just, you know, keep an eye on your fish and how they're growing and upgrade the tank as you need to. So yeah, I hope that you guys found this video helpful. If you have any questions or opinions that you want to share, I'm sure everyone is going to have an opinion they want to share. Go for it. Comment below. Have at it. Let me know what you think. And yeah, so I don't know. I think that's all I have tonight. At a loss right here. So yeah, I don't know. Follow me on Instagram. I'm at Green Mountain Goldfish. Little underscores under each word. I'm also on Facebook at Green Mountain Goldfish, and please go check out Coco's Goldfish Forum if you have. It's a great community of people, and you know, lots of very well-informed folks to chat with over there if you have questions. And then also please do check out the Facebook group Tank Outlaws. That's a group that I also belong to on Facebook and have been having a lot of fun interacting with those folks over there. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now. I hope you guys have a good week. Happy Monday morning, blah. And I will talk to you guys later.